Mr. Adebayo, I'm afraid the diagnosis is permanent blindness.
Now that my husband is blind, I can do what I have always wanted to do in his presence.
Charles, my friend, it's wonderful to see you.
He is blind. He can't see us.
Mr. Adebayo, I'm afraid the diagnosis is permanent blindness. The specialist's words echoed to the luxury private hospital room, but what truly shattered Chidi Adebayo wasn't the prognosis. It was a smile that flickered across his fiancée's face when she thought he couldn't see it. The accident had happened 3 days ago. A careless driver had run a red light at the Falomo roundabout, slamming into Chidi's Mercedes-Benz G-Wagon. The impact had been violent enough to deploy the airbags and leave Chidi with severe concussion and what doctors initially diagnosed as traumatic optic neuropathy. For 72 hours, the world had been nothing but darkness. Chidi lay in the pristine white hospital bed, his head wrapped in bandages, listening to Dr. Okafor deliver the devastating news. Amara sat beside him, her hand resting lightly on his arm. To anyone watching, she appeared to be the devoted fiancée, her face a mask of concern. But Chidi had seen it, that brief, fleeting smile when the doctor first mentioned permanent blindness. He'd seen it because, miraculously, his vision had returned that very morning. Dr. Okafor had conducted a private examination at dawn, before visiting ours. The neurologist's face had lit up with professional triumph. "This is extraordinary, Mr. Adebayo. Your optic nerves have recovered completely. It's rare, but not unheard of. The swelling has subsided faster than we anticipated. Don't tell anyone." Chidi had said immediately, surprising even himself. "Not yet. I need time to think." Dr. Okafor had hesitated, clearly confused, but had ultimately agreed to maintain the fiction of blindness for 48 hours. Now, watching the doctor deliver the false prognosis to Amara, Chidi understood why his instincts had screamed at him to wait. That smile, that terrible, revealing smile. "How long until we know for certain?" Amara asked, her voice trembling with what anyone else would interpret as distress. But Chidi heard something else now, anticipation. "We'll continue monitoring, but I'm afraid the prognosis is quite definitive," Dr. Okafor said, playing his role perfectly. "Mr. Adebayo will need to make significant lifestyle adjustments." After the doctor left, Amara remained quiet for several minutes. Then her phone buzzed. "Baby, I need to take this call. I'll be right outside." Through his closed eyelids, Chidi tracked her movement across the room. The moment the door clicked shut, he carefully opened his eyes to slits. The hallway was visible through the small window in the door. Amara stood with her back to him, phone pressed to her ear, her entire posture transformed from concerned fiancé to something else entirely. He couldn't hear her words, but he watched her throw her head back and laugh. Actually laugh. She gestured animatedly, her free hand moving in excited patterns. Then she glanced back toward his room, and Chidi quickly shut his eyes again. When she returned, her mask was back in place. "That was my mother," she said softly. "She's so worried about you. About us." "I'm sorry, Amara," Chidi whispered, his throat tight with an emotion that had nothing to do with his fabricated blindness. "I'm sorry this happened. I know this changes everything for us." "Don't say that." Her hand found his, squeezing gently, but her palm was dry, her grip perfunctory. "We'll get through this together, for better or worse, remember?" They hadn't even married yet, and she was already lying. That evening, Obiora Ease arrived. Chidi's childhood friend and CFO was one of the few people allowed past the private security Chidi maintained even in the hospital. Amara greeted him warmly, playing the gracious hostess even here. "I'll give you two some time alone," she said, gathering her designer handbag. "I need to go home and shower, change clothes. I'll be back in a few hours." The moment she left, Obiora pulled a chair close to Chidi's bed. "Brother, I came as soon as I heard. The doctor said—" "I can see," Chidi interrupted quietly. Obiora froze. "What?" "I can see perfectly." My vision came back this morning. Chitty opened his eyes fully, meeting his friend's shocked gaze. But Obiora, I need you to listen very carefully. No one can know, especially not Amara. Over the next 30 minutes, Chitty explained everything. The smile, the phone call, the laugh, the instinct that had made him hide his recovery. Obiora listened with growing horror and anger. That which, Obiora hissed, I never trusted her, Chitty. From the beginning, something felt off. The way she pursued you at that gala, the way she always steered conversations toward your business holdings, your investments. I was blind then, too, Chitty said bitterly, just in a different way. I saw a beautiful woman who seemed to love me. I saw what I wanted to see. So what's the plan? Chitty was quiet for a long moment. I need to know the truth. All of it. Who else is involved? What she's really planning. If I confront her now, she'll just deny everything, and I'll never know how deep this goes. You want to keep pretending to be blind. Yes. Can you help me? Obiora didn't hesitate. Whatever you need, brother. Whatever you need. They spent the next hour strategizing. Obiora would maintain the fiction publicly, act as Chitty's advocate and helper. They would need to be careful, deliberate. Chitty would have to become an actor, convincing enough to fool not just Amara, but everyone around them. This is going to hurt, Obiora warned. Seeing her true colors, day after day, and not being able to react. Are you sure you can handle it? Chitty thought about that smile again, that laugh. I have to know, Obiora. I have to see who she really is. You already know who she is. No. Chitty shook his head. I know she's not who I thought. But I need to see just how far she'll go. I need to understand what I almost married. And I need evidence, real undeniable evidence, of whatever she's planning. Late that night, after Amara had returned and fallen asleep in the chair beside his bed, Chitty lay awake in the darkness. Not the darkness of blindness, but the darkness of betrayal. He could see the ceiling tiles above him, could see the moonlight streaming through the window, could see Amara's sleeping face, beautiful even now, even knowing what lay beneath. His phone buzzed softly. A text from Obiora. I've already started looking into her background, her finances, her associates. We'll find out everything. Chitty typed back with one hand, the motion hidden beneath his blanket. Thank you, brother. Tomorrow he would be discharged. Tomorrow he would return to his penthouse in Ikoyi, to the life he'd built with a woman who was already planning to tear it all down. Tomorrow the real performance would begin. But tonight, Chitty Adebayo allowed himself to grieve, not for his vision, that had been restored, but for his trust, his love, his faith in the woman he'd planned to marry. Those things he suspected might be lost forever. He closed his eyes, not because he couldn't see, but because sometimes the darkness was easier than the truth. Are you enjoying this story? Want to see how Chitty exposes Amara's betrayal? Hit that like button, and subscribe to African Tales by Zion for more dramatic twists. Drop a comment telling us, would you pretend to be blind to catch a cheater? Let's continue. The penthouse felt different now. Chitty stood in the center of his living room, his hand gripping Obiora's arm in what everyone believed was necessary support, and saw his home through new eyes. The floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the Lagos skyline, the Italian leather furniture he'd selected himself, the African art collection worth millions, everything he'd worked for, everything he'd built, and the woman standing across from him wanted to take it all. Careful, baby, Amara cooed, rushing forward as Chitty deliberately stumbled. The furniture is exactly where it's always been, but we should probably rearrange things to make it easier for you to navigate. No, Chitty said, perhaps too quickly. He softened his tone. No, I need to learn to adapt. The doctor said maintaining familiar surroundings would help me adjust. Behind his dark Cartier sunglasses, he watched Amara exchange a glance with a home care nurse she insisted on hiring, a woman named Patience who, according to Obiora's preliminary research, had worked for Amara's family for years. Of course, Amara said sweetly. Whatever you think is best. I'm just worried about you. The first week was an education in deception, both his and hers. Chitty had to relearn how to move through his own home as if he couldn't see. He bumped into furniture with calculated clumsiness, reached for objects and missed by inches, asked for help with tasks he could easily do himself. Every moment was a performance, and the strain of it exhausted him. But it was nothing compared to the strain of watching Amara's transformation. On the third day home, Chitty sat in his study, supposedly reading a Braille document that Obiora had provided as a prop. Through his dark glasses, he watched Amara enter his office. She thought he was napping. He developed a habit of afternoon rest that gave her freedom to roam. She moved directly to his desk, bypassing the papers on top to pull open the locked drawer. Chitty had deliberately left it unlocked that morning. He watched as she photographed document after document with her phone: investment portfolios, property deeds, company shareholding agreements, offshore account information. His hands clenched on the fake Braille pages. Every fiber of his being wanted to leap up, to confront her, to throw her out of his home. But he remained still, breathing deeply, counting silently to calm his racing heart. She was in his office for 17 minutes. When she finished, she carefully arranged everything exactly as it had been, then crept out on silent feet. Minutes later, she appeared in the doorway of the study with a bright smile. "Baby, you're awake. I was just in the kitchen making you some lunch. Are you hungry?" "Starving," Chitty said, and wondered if she could hear the double meaning in his voice. He was starving, for truth, for justice, for the end of the charade. That night, Obiora came for dinner. Amara played the perfect hostess, serving wine and making pleasant conversation. After the meal, she excused herself to take a bath, and Obiora immediately pulled out his tablet. "The nurse, Patience Okonkwo, is Amara's cousin," he said in a low voice. "And I found something else. Amara's been in contact with Emeka Nwosu." Chitty's blood ran cold. Emeka Nwosu was a real estate developer who'd been trying to buy Chitty out of a lucrative property deal for months. More than that, Emeka had a reputation for ruthless business practices and rumored connections to fraudulent schemes. How close a contact? Hotel rooms in Victoria Island. Multiple visits over the past 4 months. While you two were engaged, Obiora's voice was tight with anger. "I have the hotel surveillance footage, if you want to see it." "No." Chitty's jaw clenched. "Not yet. I don't need to see that. What I need is to know what they're planning. I'm working on it. I've got someone monitoring her communications. But she's careful. Uses encrypted apps, changes phones regularly." Over the next few days, Chitty noticed other changes in Amara's behavior. She was less patient with his questions, more dismissive of his concerns. When he asked about wedding plans, she waved him off. "We'll deal with that when you're better adjusted," she said, but he heard the subtext. "When you're more dependent, more vulnerable, more completely under my control." She began to isolate him. When his business associates called, she screened them, claiming he needed rest. When his mother wanted a visit from Enugu, Amara suggested they wait until Chitty was ready for visitors. She was building a cage around him, and she thought he was too blind to see the bars. One evening, Chitty deliberately knocked over a glass of water. It shattered on a marble floor, and he made a show of reaching for the pieces. "Don't!" Amara snapped, her voice sharp and impatient. Then she caught herself, softening her tone. "I mean, you'll cut yourself, baby. Let Patience clean it up." But Chitty had seen her face in that unguarded moment. Irritation, contempt, disgust. Not at the broken glass, but at him. "I'm sorry," he said quietly. "I'm so clumsy now. This must be so hard for you." She came to him, wrapping her arms around him in what should have been a comforting embrace. "It's fine," she murmured. "It's all fine." But her body was stiff, her touch mechanical. This was a woman going through the motions, counting down the days until whatever she had planned came to fruition. That night, Chitty couldn't sleep. He lay in bed beside Amara. They'd been sharing a bed since the engagement, and maintaining that fiction was perhaps the hardest part of this entire ordeal, and stared at the ceiling. Beside him, Amara slept peacefully, her breathing deep and even. How could she sleep so soundly while plotting to destroy him? His phone buzzed silently. A message from Obiora. "Found something. We need to talk tomorrow. Private. Important. Chitty acknowledged with a thumbs-up emoji and set the phone down. Whatever Obiora had discovered, it was significant. The net was tightening around Amara, even as she thought she was tightening around him. The next morning, Amara announced she had a spa day planned with friends. You'll be all right with patience here, won't you? I just need a few hours to decompress. This has all been so stressful. Of course, Chitty said. You deserve a break. You've been taking such good care of me. The moment her car pulled out of the compound, Obiora arrived. They sat in Chitty's study with the door locked. Patience dismissed for the afternoon with substantial cash gift and instructions to visit her family. She's been meeting with a lawyer, Obiora said, pulling up documents on his tablet. Not a regular attorney, a specialist in elder law and disability rights. She's been asking about conservatorship, about gaining legal control over your assets due to your incapacity. Chitty felt sick. Conservatorship? I'm 38 years old and mentally competent. Blindness can be argued as a disability that impairs your ability to manage complex business affairs. With the right medical testimony, which I'm sure she's working on obtaining, she could petition to become your legal guardian, at which point she had control over everything. And then what? Force me into some care facility while she liquidates my assets. Possibly. Or worse. Obiora hesitated. Chitty, I need you to consider something. If she's willing to go this far, if she's planning to trap you legally and financially, what happens when she has what she wants? What happens to you? The implication hung heavy in the air. A blind, helpless billionaire with all his assets signed over to his wife would be expendable. An accident. A medication mix-up. A fall down the stairs. Chitty had thought his heart was already broken, but apparently there were still pieces left to shatter. She'd kill me? I don't know. I hope not. But, brother, we need be prepared for anything. Obiora leaned forward. How much longer can you keep this up? How much more do we need to see? Chitty stood, walking to window without the cane he was supposed to need, staring out at the Lego skyline. Until we have everything, every person involved, every document, every plan, I want her caught in a trap so complete that she has no way out. And if seeing all of this destroys you in the process, then I'll rebuild. Chitty turned back to his friend. I built this empire once from nothing. I can build myself again, too. But first, I need to see exactly what I'm dealing with. I need to know the full truth. Obiora nodded slowly. Then we keep going. But Chitty, please, protect yourself. Not just legally and financially. Protect your heart, too. Too late for that, Chitty thought. His heart had broken the moment he saw Amara smile at his blindness. Now he was just documenting the damage. That evening, Amara returned from her spa day, glowing and refreshed. She kissed his cheek, told him she missed him, asked about his day. Every word was a lie wrapped in sweetness, and Chitty swallowed them all with a smile. I love you, she said as they prepared for bed. I love you, too, Chitty replied, and wondered if she could taste the ashes in his voice. In the darkness, wearing his sunglasses even in bed now, because the sensitivity to light persists, Chitty watched her fall asleep, and he thought about trust, about love, about how the cruelest blindness had nothing to do with eyes at all. Can you believe Amara's audacity? This story is getting intense. Smash that like button if you're Team Chitty, and subscribe to AfricanTales by Zion so you don't miss what happens next. Comment below, how should Chitty expose her? We're reading all your suggestions. Chitty, baby, I've been thinking. Amara sat across from him at the breakfast table, her voice honey-sweet. You need more help than I can provide alone. I found someone, a professional caretaker who specializes in supporting visually impaired individuals. He comes highly recommended. Chitty's coffee cup paused halfway to his lips. Behind his dark glasses, his eyes narrowed. I have patience. And I have you. Patience is a nurse, not a specialized caretaker. And she sighed dramatically. I hate to say this, but I'm exhausted, Chitty. I'm trying to manage your care, handle the household, deal with your business calls. I need help. We need help. Something in her tone set off alarm bells. When would this person start? Actually, he's available today. I took the liberty of scheduling a trial period. His name is Emeka Nwosu. The coffee cup slipped from Chitty's fingers, clattering against a saucer. Hot liquid splashed across the table, and he jerked back with a convincing show of surprise and dismay. "Oh, baby, I'm sorry." Amara was up in an instant, dabbing at the spill with a napkin. It's okay. This is exactly why we need more help." But Chitty barely heard her. Emeka Nwosu, his business rival, Amara's lover. She was bringing him into their home, into Chitty's life, on the guise of helping him. The audacity of it was breathtaking. "I don't know, Amara, a stranger in our home." "He's not a stranger to me," she said quickly. "I've known him for years. He's completely trustworthy. Please, Chitty, just give it a try." Every instinct screamed at him to refuse, to throw her out, to end the charade right now. But Obiora's words echoed in his mind, "until we have everything." If Amara was bold enough to bring Emeka here, what else were they planning? What would they reveal if they thought Chitty was completely helpless and unaware? "All right," Chitty said slowly. "A trial period." Emeka arrived that afternoon. Chitty sat in the living room, supposedly reading a Braille book, listening to Amara greet him at the door. "Thank you so much for coming on short notice," Amara said, her voice carrying that professional warmth she used with strangers. But Chitty heard something underneath it. Excitement, anticipation. "Of course. Anything for you." Emeka's voice was smooth, confident. "Where is he?" "He. Not your fiancé or Mr. Adebayo. Just he," with an undertone of dismissal that made Chitty's hands clench on his book. Amara led Emeka into the living room. "Chitty, this is Emeka Nwosu. Emeka, my fiancé, Chitty Adebayo." Chitty stood, extending his hand slightly to the left of where Emeka actually stood. Emeka grasped it, and Chitty felt the firm, aggressive grip of a man trying to establish dominance. "Mr. Adebayo, I'm here to make your life easier. Amara tells me you've been struggling with the adjustment." "I'm managing," Chitty said carefully. "I'm sure you are, but there's no shame in accepting help." Emeka's tone was patronizing, the kind someone might use with a child. "Why don't you tell me about your daily routine? What challenges are you facing?" For the next hour, Chitty played his role while Emeka asked questions, made suggestions, and subtly took control of the space. All the while, Amara watched with barely concealed satisfaction. That night, after Emeka had left with promises to return the next morning, Chitty sat in his study, waiting for Obiora's nightly call. But before his friend could ring, Chitty heard voices from the hallway. Amara's bedroom was directly above his study, and the old building's ventilation system carried sound in unexpected ways. He discovered this quirk weeks ago and had been using it to his advantage. "Can't believe you actually came to the house." Amara's voice breathless with laughter. "Why not?" Emeka replied. "The blind fool has no idea. Did you see his face when you introduced me? Completely clueless. It's perfect. This way I can see you every day, and he'll think you're here to help him. How long until the conservatorship papers are ready?" 2 more weeks. The lawyer is preparing everything. Once they're filed, with the medical documentation I've obtained, it should be quick. Then we just need to transfer the assets, and... Chitty heard movement, then silence. He didn't need to see to know they were kissing, in his home, steps away from where he sat. His vision blurred, not with blindness, but with rage and grief. His phone buzzed. "Obiora." Chitty answered, keeping his voice low. "Brother, I have updates." "Are you alone?" "Never alone anymore," Chitty said bitterly. Amara brought Emeka into the house. "As my caretaker." Obiora's string of Igbo curses was creative and heartfelt. "She brought her lover to your home? That's... Chitty, this is beyond insulting. This is dangerous." "I know. What did you find?" "I've been monitoring their communications through. Let's call it creative IT work. They have an offshore account set up in the Cayman Islands. The plan is to transfer your liquid assets there, then slowly liquidate your property holdings and business shares. They've been planning this for at least 8 months, since before she even accepted your proposal." 8 months. Their entire relationship had been a lie from the beginning. There's more, Obiora continued. I found communication about something called the final solution. I don't have details yet, but Chitty, the way they discuss it, I think once they have your money, they're planning to eliminate you permanently. The words hung in the air like a death sentence. Chitty had suspected, but hearing it confirmed was different. Then we need to move faster, Chitty said. I want cameras. Hidden, professional grade. Every room except the bathrooms. Can you arrange it? Already done. Team is coming tomorrow while Amara is supposedly visiting her mother. You're going to need to be out of the house. I'll have Emeka take me to a doctor's appointment. Let him feel useful. Over the next week, Chitty's home became a surveillance center. Cameras captured everything, and what they revealed was worse than he'd imagined. Amara and Emeka laughing about him over wine in his own living room. Amara forging his signature on documents at his desk. Emeka going through his personal papers, photographing everything. One evening, Chitty sat in the living room while Emeka prepared dinner in the kitchen. It was part of the caretaker routine. Through his peripheral vision, he watched Amara join Emeka in the kitchen. They thought the sound of running water would cover their voices, but Chitty had learned to listen carefully. When this is over, we're buying that villa in Cape Verde, Emeka said. No more Legos. No more pretending. Just a few more weeks, Amara replied. The conservatorship hearing is scheduled. I have 3 doctors who will testify that he's incapable of managing his affairs. Once I have legal control, you poison him and we're free. Poison. The word sent ice through Chitty's veins. They weren't planning an accident. They were planning murder. Not poison, Amara corrected. That's too obvious. But medication error? An overdose of his blood pressure medication? He's blind and confused. These things happen. Chitty's hands gripped the armrest of his chair, so tightly his knuckles went white. It took every ounce of control not to storm into that kitchen and wrap his hands around both their throats. Instead, he pulled out his phone and texted Obiora. They're planning to kill me. Medication overdose. We need to move soon. The response was immediate. Evidence is solid. Lawyers are ready. Police are ready. We can end this whenever you say. But Chitty hesitated. The conservatorship hearing. If he could let it get that far, if he could catch them in the actual act of perjury, of legal fraud, the charges would be more severe. The evidence would be irrefutable. It meant enduring more. More lies. More betrayal. More watching the woman he'd loved plot his murder. That night, Amara brought him his nightly medications. Blood pressure pills he didn't actually need any more since his recovery, but continued taking to maintain the fiction. She handed him the glass of water and the pills, watching as he swallowed them. What she didn't know was that Obiora had replaced all his medications with placebos weeks ago. Whatever Amara might add to them, he would be safe. Sleep well, baby, she whispered, kissing his forehead. You too, Chitty replied, and listened to her footsteps retreat down the hall. In the darkness, he lay awake, counting down the days until conservatorship hearing, counting down the days until he could remove his sunglasses and watch her world collapse. But first, he had to survive whatever they had planned, and he had to protect his heart from breaking any further, though he suspected that ship had long since sailed. How do you protect something that's already shattered? This is getting darker by the minute. Are you holding your breath like we are? Like this video if you can't wait to see Amara get what she deserves. And subscribe to AfricanTales by Zion for the next chapter. Comment. Would you have confronted her already, or keep gathering evidence like Chitty? Let us know. I've been thinking about the wedding, Amara announced over breakfast, her voice carrying that determined edge Chitty had come to recognize. I don't want to wait anymore. Chitty set down his fork carefully. I thought we agreed to postpone until I was better adjusted. You're as adjusted as you're going to get, baby. Her hand covered his, squeezing just a bit too tightly. And I want to take care of you properly. As your wife. Behind his dark glasses, Chitty watched her face. She was smiling, but her eyes were calculating. The conservatorship hearing was scheduled for 2 weeks from now. She wanted to marry him first. Amara, I don't want you to feel pressured. I'm not pressured. I love you. The words came out smooth as silk and just as empty. I want to be your wife. I want to stand beside you legally, officially. Don't you want that too? It was a trap. Refusing would make her suspicious. Agreeing would give her additional legal claim to his assets, even before the conservatorship went through. Of course I do, Chitty said softly. I just want you to be sure. My condition, it changes things. It changes nothing about how I feel. She stood, moving around the table to embrace him from behind. Her perfume, expensive, cloying, filled his senses. We'll have a small ceremony. Intimate, just close friends and family. 2 weeks from Saturday. What do you say? The same weekend as the conservatorship hearing. She was planning to hit him from both sides, legal marriage and legal guardianship, ensuring her control would be absolute and unbreakable. 2 weeks seems fast. We've been engaged for 8 months, Chitty. We've waited long enough. Her voice hardened slightly. Unless you're having second thoughts about us. There was the subtle threat, the manipulation. Agree or face her suspicion. No second thoughts, Chitty lied. 2 weeks sounds perfect. That afternoon, while Amara and Emeka were supposedly out arranging wedding details, Obiora came to the house. They sat in Chitty's study, door locked, security system disabled to ensure complete privacy. The wedding is a problem, Obiora said, pulling up documents on his tablet. If you actually marry her, even for a day, it complicates the legal situation. She could claim spousal rights, challenge the asset protection we've been putting in place. I know. Chitty stood, pacing to the window. But if I refuse, she'll know something is wrong. I need her confident, comfortable. I need her at that altar thinking she's won. Brother, she's planning to kill you. We have her on recording talking about medication overdoses. We can end this now. Call the police. Have her arrested. On what charges? Conspiracy to commit fraud? She'd make bail in hours, and we'd lose a chance to catch her in the bigger crime. No, we need the conservatorship hearing. We need her committing perjury in court, her lawyers filing false documents, her doctors lying under oath. We need it all. Obiora shook his head. You're playing a dangerous game. I'm playing chess while she thinks we're playing checkers. Chitty returned to his desk, sitting heavily. Here's what we're going to do. The wedding happens. But that morning, I'll sign a prenuptial agreement. One she doesn't know about, prepared by my real lawyers. It'll be ironclad, protecting everything. She marries me thinking she secured her claim. In reality, she gets nothing. And if she tries to kill you before the conservatorship hearing, then I remove these glasses and end the charade early. But I don't think she will. She's careful, methodical. She'll wait until she has legal control, legal cover. The medication accident won't happen until she's my legal guardian and wife. Until she can play the grieving widow who tried so hard to save her disabled husband. Over the next 2 weeks, Chitty watched his wedding plans unfold like a dark comedy. Amara had indeed kept the guest list small, suspiciously small. His mother was told the ceremony was postponed due to his health. His business partners received regrets, citing his need for privacy. Even his cousins from Enugu were uninvited. Just intimate friends, Amara explained. You don't want to be overwhelmed, do you? But Chitty saw the truth. She was isolating him, ensuring that anyone who truly cared about him, anyone who might question or interfere, would be absent. The guest list of 20 was comprised mostly of her friends or family, and, tellingly, 3 doctors who were scheduled to testify at the conservatorship hearing. The wedding would be a performance for an audience of co-conspirators and future witnesses. 1 week before the ceremony, Chitty sat in his study, supposedly reviewing Braille wedding vows that Amara had prepared. In reality, he was watching security footage from earlier that day. Amara and Emeka in the living room, sharing wine, laughing. Can you believe we're almost there? Amara's voice came through the hidden microphone clearly. By this time next month, we'll be in Cape Verde, and Chitty will be, well, gone. What about the will? Emeka asked. He hasn't updated it to include you yet. He will, right after the wedding. I've already prepared the document. He just needs to sign it. In his condition, with his disability, who will question it? Especially after conservatorship gives me power of attorney. And when the accident happens, 2 weeks after the conservatorship is approved, long enough for everything to seem normal, short enough that we're not waiting forever. She laughed. I'll be the devoted wife who fought so hard to save him. The doctors will confirm he was fragile, confused, that medication errors are common with blind patients. No one will suspect anything. Chitty stopped the playback. He'd heard enough, more than enough. That night, Obiora delivered the secret prenuptial agreement for his signature. It was a masterpiece of legal protection, drafted by Nigeria's best matrimonial lawyers. It specified that in the event of marriage, Amara would have claim to nothing acquired before the marriage, and any assets acquired during the marriage would require mutual documentation to be considered marital property. She thinks you're signing the vows tomorrow, Obiora said. I told her you wanted to review them privately, that I'd bring them back signed. And instead, I'm signing this. Chitty put pen to paper, his signature firm and clear. Make sure it's filed with the High Court tomorrow. Witness notarized, undeniable. Done. Chitty? Obiora hesitated. Your mother called me. She's hurt that she's not invited to the wedding. What should I tell her? Tell her? Chitty paused, feeling the weight of what was coming. Tell her to come anyway. Tell her to arrive an hour before the ceremony and bring the family. All of them. I want people there who actually love me. I want witnesses who will tell the truth about what they see. Obiora smiled slowly. You're going to do it at the wedding. I'm going to do it at the wedding. 5 days before the ceremony, Amara took Chitty to meet with the priest, a man she'd selected, at a church Chitty had never attended. They sat in the small office while the priest outlined the ceremony. And do you, Chitty, take Amara to be your lawfully wedded wife, to have and hold, in sickness and in health, for richer or for poorer. For richer or for poorer. Chitty almost laughed at the irony. She'd chosen for richer and planned to leave him with for poorer, or rather, leave him dead. I do, Chitty said when prompted, practicing his vows. I do, Amara echoed, her voice trembling with what the priest surely interpreted as emotion, but Chitty recognized as anticipation. That evening, as they returned to the penthouse, Amara was more affectionate than she'd been in weeks. She held his hand, guided him carefully, spoke in soft endearments, playing the devoted fiancée one last time before the mask could permanently come off. I can't wait to be your wife, she whispered as they prepared for bed. Neither can I, Chitty replied, and meant it in ways she couldn't imagine. He couldn't wait to be her husband, for exactly as long as it took to expose her, arrest her, and annul the marriage that would last mere hours. In the darkness, Chitty lay awake, counting down. 5 days. 5 days until he stood at that altar. 5 days until he removed his glasses and watched her perfect plan crumble. 5 days until Amara learned that the blind man she'd been deceiving had seen everything all along, and he was about to make her see just how badly she'd miscalculated. The wedding is coming. Can you feel the tension? Hit that like button if you're ready for the ultimate confrontation, and subscribe to AfricanTales by Zion so you don't miss the explosive finale. Drop a comment. What should Chitty say when he reveals he can see? Give us your best one-liners. The morning of the wedding, Chitty woke before dawn. Beside him, Amara slept peacefully, her face serene in the soft light filtering through the curtains. Looking at her now, he could almost remember why he'd fallen in love with her. Almost. His phone buzzed silently. A text from Obiora. Everything is in place. Police are standing by. Your family is on their way. Are you ready? Chitty typed back. I've been ready since the day I saw her smile at my blindness. The ceremony was scheduled for 3 p.m. at the small church in Lekki that Amara had chosen. The morning passed in a blur of final preparations. Amara was radiant, excited, touching him constantly as if she couldn't bear to be separated even for a moment. Today you become mine, she whispered, helping him into his custom-tailored suit. Officially, legally mine. Officially, legally yours. Chitty agreed, adjusting his dark glasses. At 1 p.m., Amara left to prepare at a hotel with her bridesmaids. "I want the first time you hear me today to be when I'm walking down the aisle," she said, kissing him goodbye. "I love you, Chitty." "I love you, too," he replied. And the words felt like goodbye to the man he used to be, the man who could say those words and mean them. The moment her car left the compound, Obiora arrived with Chitty's real wedding party. His mother, Ada Adebayo, a formidable woman in her 60s, his younger sister, Ngozi, his cousins from Enugu, and a dozen childhood friends. Behind them came his real lawyers, and, in an unmarked car parked discreetly down the street, 2 police detectives. "My son." His mother embraced him tightly, then stepped back, her eyes searching his face. "Obiora told us everything. Is it true?" "You can see." Chitty removed his sunglasses. "I can see, Mama. I can see everything." His mother's hand flew to her mouth. "That wicked girl. That evil, wicked girl. Not for much longer." Chitty replaced the glasses. "But I need you all to act normally. Surprised to be here, but happy. Celebrating. Can you do that?" His family and friends nodded grimly. They understood their roles in the final act of this performance. At 2:45 p.m., Chitty arrived at the church. The small chapel was decorated simply: white flowers, elegant ribbons, nothing too extravagant. Amara's 20 guests were already seated, whispering among themselves. When Chitty entered with Obiora as his guide, the whispers grew louder. He recognized the 3 doctors who would testify at the conservatorship hearing, Amara's cousin patients, various friends who'd been complicit in isolating him, and, sitting in the front row as bold as could be, Emeka Nwosu, listed on the program as a special family friend. Then his family entered. The surprise on Amara's guests' faces was palpable. This wasn't part of the plan. The small, controlled guest list had just doubled with people who actually care about the groom. Chitty's mother walked directly to the front row, staring down Emeka until he moved to a different seat. The power dynamics in the room shifted visibly. At 3 p.m. exactly, the music began. Chitty stood at the altar, Obiora beside him, facing the doors at the back of the church. His heart was pounding, but not with nervousness, with anticipation, with righteous fury held carefully in check. The doors opened. Amara appeared, backlit by the afternoon sun, wearing a stunning white gown that probably cost more than most people's cars. She looked like a vision, like every groom's dream. She looked like a beautiful lie. As she walked down the aisle, Chitty saw her eyes widen slightly at the unexpected guests. She faltered for just a moment, then recovered, her smile never wavering. Always a performer, always in control. She reached the altar, taking her place across from him. This close, he could smell her perfume, see the triumph in her eyes. She thought she'd won. The priest began. "Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to join Chitty Adebayo and Amara Okonkwo in holy matrimony." Chitty let him continue through the opening remarks, through the readings, through the first portion of the vows. He wanted her comfortable. He wanted her confident. If anyone has any reason why these 2 should not be wed, speak now or forever hold your peace. The moment of silence stretched. This was it. This was his moment. Chitty reached up and removed his sunglasses. The effect was instantaneous. Amara gasped, stumbling backward, around the chapel. Her guests murmured in confusion. But Chitty's family remained silent, waiting. "I do," Chitty said clearly, his voice carrying through the chapel. "I have a reason. Several, in fact." "Chitty?" Amara's voice was thin, uncertain. "Your eyes, you can see." Chitty smiled, and it was not a kind smile. "Yes, Amara, I can see. I've been able to see since the day after the accident. I saw everything." The color drained from her face. "What are you talking about? This isn't funny." "I saw you smile when the doctor said I was permanently blind." Chitty's voice grew harder. "I heard you on the phone that first day, laughing about the blind fool and how easy I'd be to control. I watched you photograph my documents, forge my signatures, plot with your lover to steal everything I built. No, you're confused. Your condition. My condition is perfect health and 20/20 vision." Chitty turned to face the chapel. Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce you to the real Amara Okonkwo. Not the loving fiancée she's intended to be, but a calculating con artist who spent the past 8 months planning to defraud and murder me. This is insane. Amara turned to her guests, to the priest. He's had a breakdown. His blindness, the trauma. He's not thinking clearly. I'm thinking more clearly than I have in months. Chitty nodded to Obiora, who pulled out a tablet. Show them. The tablet connected to a portable projector that Obiora had set up that morning. On the white wall beside the altar, video began to play. Amara and Emeka in Chitty's living room, discussing conservatorship plan. Amara forging documents at his desk. The hotel surveillance showing her entering rooms with Emeka. And finally, the recording from the kitchen. Amara's voice, clear and damning. Not poison. That's too obvious. But a medication error? An overdose of his blood pressure medication? He's blind and confused. These things happen. The chapel erupted. Gasps, shouts, movement. Emeka was already on his feet, heading for the door, but 2 large men, Chitty's cousins, blocked his path. Amara stood frozen, staring at the wall where her own voice condemned her. You recorded us? Every moment, every conversation, every betrayal. Chitty stepped closer to her, and she flinched back. Did you really think I would notice? The smile when I was diagnosed? The way you isolated me from everyone who cared? The cousin you planted as my nurse? The business rival you brought into my home as my caretaker? I loved you, Amara whispered. But even now, the lie was transparent. No, you loved my money. You saw a blind man, literally and figuratively, and thought you could take everything. Chitty shook his head. But I saw you, Amara. Really saw you. And what I saw was someone willing to commit fraud, perjury, and murder for a fortune she didn't earn. The church doors opened. The 2 detectives entered, badges visible. Amara Okonkwo, the lead detective, approached the altar. You're under arrest for conspiracy to commit fraud, attempted murder, and forgery. You have the right to remain silent. As they read her rights, Amara's mask finally shattered completely. You bastard, she hissed at Chitty. You self-righteous bastard. You think you're so much better than me? You have everything handed to you. I built everything I have, Chitty interrupted coldly. From nothing, and I protected it from someone who wanted to steal it. That's not self-righteous. That's smart. They handcuffed her as they led her past Chitty. She stopped, her eyes meeting his one last time. I hope you're happy. I'm not, Chitty admitted, but I will be, eventually. Emeka was arrested next, along with 3 of the doctors who'd agreed to provide false testimony. The lawyer who prepared the fraudulent conservatorship documents was already in custody. Obiora had ensured that happened that morning. When the police had gone, taking Amara and her co-conspirators with them, the chapel fell silent. Chitty stood alone at the altar, still in his wedding suit, surrounded by the ruins of what should have been the happiest day of his life. His mother approached, wrapping him in her arms. My strong boy, my smart boy, you did the right thing. Then why does it hurt so much? Chitty's voice broke slightly. Because you loved her. The version of her you thought was real. It's okay to grieve that, even while knowing you made the right choice. Over the next weeks, the legal proceedings unfolded. The evidence was overwhelming. Amara, Emeka, the doctors, the lawyer, all faced serious charges. The conservatorship petition was dismissed with prejudice. The prenuptial agreement Chitty had secretly filed made it clear that even if they'd married, Amara would have had no claim to his assets. Chitty threw himself into work, into rebuilding not just his business, but his ability to trust. It was harder than he'd expected. Every interaction felt suspect. Every kindness seemed potentially calculated. 2 months after the aborted wedding, Obiora invited Chitty to dinner at his family home in Ikeja. My sister is visiting from London, he said. I think you two should meet. Chitty almost refused. He wasn't ready, but something in Obiora's voice made him accept. Chioma Eves was nothing like Amara. Where Amara had been polished and perfectly presented, Chioma was natural and genuine. She wore simple clothes, minimal makeup, and when she smiled, it reached her eyes. She ran a nonprofit in London that supported young African women in STEM fields. Obiora told me what happened, she said over dinner. I'm so sorry. That must have been devastating. It was, Chitty admitted, still is, sometimes. I can only imagine. But if it helps at all, I think what you did, exposing her, protecting yourself, that took incredible strength and courage. They talked for hours about her work, his business, their families, their dreams. And for the first time since removing those dark glasses at the altar, Chitty felt something shift in his chest. Not love, it was far too soon for that, but possibility. Hope, would you like to have dinner again? He asked as the evening ended. Just the two of us? Chioma's smile was warm and real. I'd like that very much. 3 months later, Chitty stood in a courtroom as the judge delivered Amara's sentence. 7 years for fraud, conspiracy, and attempted murder. She'd taken a plea deal, avoiding a trial that would have exposed every detail of her crimes to the public. As they led her away, she glanced back at Chitty one final time. He met her gaze steadily. No sunglasses now, no pretense. Just a man who'd survived her betrayal and come out stronger. Outside the courthouse, Chioma waited. She'd flown in from London just to be there with him, supporting him through the final chapter of this nightmare. How do you feel? She asked, taking his hand. Like I can finally see clearly, Chitty replied. Really, truly clearly. Not just with my eyes, but with my heart. 6 months after that, Chitty proposed to Chioma, not at a charity gala or a moment of passion, but in his mother's kitchen in Enugu, surrounded by family, with no pretense or performance. Just two people who'd found each other in the aftermath of betrayal and chosen to build something real. The wedding was large this time, filled with everyone who mattered. As Chitty stood at the altar, a different church, a different woman, a different life, he thought about the journey that had brought him here. The blindness, both literal and figurative, the betrayal that had shattered him, the strength he'd found in the breaking. When Chioma walked down the aisle, there was no doubt, no fear, no calculation. Just love, genuine and true. I can see you, Chitty whispered as she took his hands. I can see you too, Chioma replied, understanding the weight of those words. And in that moment, standing in the light with a woman who loved him for who he was rather than what he had, Chitty realized something profound. Sometimes you have to be blind to truly see. You have to lose everything to understand what matters. You have to break to become unbreakable. He pretended to be blind and discovered the truth. Now, with his eyes wide open, he could finally see the life he was meant to live. Wow, what a journey. Did Chitty's story leave you speechless? Smash that like button. Subscribe to AfricanTales by Zion for more incredible stories of justice and redemption, and share this with someone who needs to hear it. Comment below. What was your favorite moment? Team Chioma or Team Chitty? Let's discuss. Thank you for being part of this tale. Until next time, keep your eyes open and your heart wise.